Do you have a problem staying out of the spam folder? Yes, the dreaded spam folder. I'm not talking about that delicious food you find in your local grocery store. I am talking about that darn folder that all your promotions end up going into. I am Rob Reese. This is Wayne, the Man Crow,
Yo,
who's not boring, and this is the Traffic Domination Podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you are interested about learning how to land in the inbox and staying out of that dreaded spam folder, you need to watch this episode and share it with your friends, okay? Make sure you also subscribe to our podcast on any podcast catcher, iTunes, Stitcher, it doesn't matter where, YouTube, all of the places. Make sure you get them every single week. Now, Wayne, you admitted you can't stand this subject.
it's probably it's the most asked subject I ever get. I always give an answer, and then no one acts on it. It's like, okay.
So admit it. It's not the question that bothers you. It's the people that lack taking action in it. Now, that's okay. That's okay, Wayne. It's okay. It's okay. I will forgive you for that, and your audience will forgive you for that.
Yeah.
But listen, this is an important topic. It's an ever-changing thing, and now we don't just have an issue with spam. We have an issue of the promotions folder as well. You know, because you might as well end up in spam with the promotions folder as well. Go ahead. You were going to say something.
I think promotions is better than spam.
I mean, I know I don't really check it until like 2 weeks down the road, but that's another story, and we could talk about improving that as well. But spam, okay? So spam. Now, a person, first of all, what is a good open rate on average for our space?
Depends on the niche, mate. Really depends on your type of list. If it's a Chernberg solo ad list, 0.5. If it's a high quality list, CPA list, 1 to 2%. If it's a relationship list, there's CTRs I'm talking about. A relationship list can be as high as 30% CTRs. It just depends on the goal of the list, really.
Well, I'm talking about getting into the inbox and seeing those opens, because I would imagine a very small percentage of those would be opens because they went into your spam folder.
It's spam. Yeah, it's tiny. Some people make a living. You got to remember, some people make a living from the spam folder, which is pretty crazy. They're happy.
That's kind of wild to think about. But for us who are in internet marketing, who do affiliate marketing, especially in the CPA space, let's say those who are in the best CPA network, the Traffic Domination Network, okay? That's the absolute best network there is right now. Tell us how we can best avoid getting into the spam folder. I've got a couple of tricks that I'm going to share a little later, but what does the master of email, Wayne Crow, have to say about helping people get out of that darn spam folder?
The biggest one, I mean, there's tons. I'll probably put together an entire list. I'll get one of my teams to put together an entire list of things you should watch out for. But the one that affects things the most is just making sure your list is clean. If you've got a list of openers and you add new people to a list of openers, they're gonna get a high proportion of opens. If you've got a dead list and you add to that, then they're gonna come in, they're not gonna get opens or clicks either. So really, it's the biggest one is your list hygiene. Don't just import a list built from opt-in. A lot of people will say double opt-in works best. I don't like it, but if your main goal is deliverability and getting open clicks, then it will. Asking people to whitelist you, avoiding spam keywords. There's an absolute ton of answers. The biggest bit of advice I can give is, like, you're going to come up with some techniques, okay? There's tons of techniques. We'll probably put a checklist together of how to avoid it. But the biggest thing you can do is always try and beat your own average, okay? Because when I look in my spam box, it's going to be very different to yours, Rob. Like, because a spam inbox is fairly personal to you. It's not like there's a global one. A lot of the time there is. Like, if you get Prince from Nigeria, one is trying to hand you his $10 million.
He emailed me the other day, by the way. I almost jumped in on the opportunity to get the 10 million shekels.
Shekels, was it? Yeah, they're always going to go spam, but a spam inbox is relative to you. So yeah, there's tons of stuff you can do, but the most important thing I would say is always try and beat what you did before. Focus on your list hygiene, and focus on the variables you've already got a hold on, if you like. So if we think of some autoresponders have poor deliverability, the big thing they can do, so let's say Aweber actually say this on one of their pages, if your deliverability is good, they'll actually move you on to a better IP address, okay? And you can find that, and GetResponse do it. They wouldn't admit they do it, but they do it as well. So you can always ask. Again, a lot of new people will think, oh, I'm not getting an inbox. My opens are only 2%. I'm going to go ask GetResponse to move me. Most of the time they aren't going to do that, but a lot of them have poor IP addresses, which they just shove new people on, or they shove people with. That's the trouble with the BizOps space as well. We're on the kind of back foot because they can segment our emails and what type of senders we are, and kind of put us in the worst IP pools as well.
Yeah, and you have to remember, guys, that ultimately our industry is looked at as kind of like the lowest of the low. Okay, well, almost there, almost.
Yeah, not quite there.
Not quite there, but the priority they have for the BizOps space is not very high, simply because they're not a big fan of the kind of get rich kind of business opportunity stuff. Even though we don't sell that type of stuff necessarily, they are not a big fan of it. So you really do have to pay attention. And this is where some of the tricks that I've employed really help, is especially if you're building one of those relationship lists. Building a relationship list will help you definitely in the long run. And I do something what is called the 6-hour email. Now I did not brand this. This is not something that is new to me. However, it is somewhat of an advanced technique that you don't hear all that often. Now, the moment they come in on your list, what you want to do is within the next 4 to 6 hours of getting that brand new person, have an automated email prepared to send that asks for a reply. So what you're doing is you're talking directly to the person, asking how they are, what made them sign up for your list, if they got the thing that they ended up signing up on your list for, talking to them like a person and saying, hey, if you need any help, if you want to give me some information about yourself, your background, your job situation, whatever it may be, and ask them for a simple reply. And all you have to do is put in the subject line, reply requested. What typically happens is a lot of people who just opted in on your list will in fact reply. Obviously not everyone, but that will boost your reputation score. When your reputation score gets a little bit of a boost, they're going to see, oh, okay, this person is actually engaging his list. The list actually wants to communicate with him. And when email service providers such as GetResponse, Aweber, Constant Contact, all these bigger guys, when they see that there's replies going back and forth, they're absolutely loving the fact that you're sending them content that they want to receive. So that's a good way immediately, quickly, and simply in order to boost that engagement score and get into the inbox without having to do some crazy tricks or employ some crazy tactics. But Wayne, what are your thoughts on that, depending on the type of email list you're building?
If that the kind of title says it all, mate, relationship list, you're trying to build a relationship with those people. So the more emails you have going back and forth, the more relationship you're going to build. Same as Facebook. It's all about really relationship marketing. So you build relationships, exact same as email. Like people segment these different types of marketing off, but really when you build a relationship, it's all about that personal touch. So it will, at the very least, help you build relationships. There's another take on that for CPA marketing or, solo ad vendors, solo ad buyers. There's another take that's similar. In GetResponse, you can do it. And in Aweber, you can find something called AW Pro Tools. What you can actually do, when someone clicks, you can send them, move them to a new list or copy them to a new list with a new follow-up, and straight away they get another email. So they're already in their inbox. They've got another email, and the opens on that email they can be as high as 80% because they're already there. They've already kind of gone through someone else's funnel maybe and gone back to their inbox to check for the free offer they've been sent. So you're actually at the top. This is a brilliant method for improving your own deliverability, because if you do that, you can actually do that in a line. I created something about 4 years ago. Aweber had really poor deliverability because all their IPs got hit. I didn't, because of that method. I would just follow up with them straight away. So it's kind of similar to that, taking out the manual part of replying and building relationships. That works.
That's interesting that you immediately hit that trigger on the person who clicks on the email so they receive another one, and it immediately does exactly what you're looking for because they're already there. It makes sense that if they're already in the email box, they're going to click on one more. That's absolutely brilliant, guys. I hope you guys are paying attention to this. So if you guys are looking to stay out of that spam folder, this is the episode that you need to be watching. You need to be telling people about the Traffic Domination Podcast, because this is an important topic. I know that you guys are interested in this topic because you asked about it. So make sure you guys are paying attention to these things. Now, Wayne, another way that we can stay out of the spam folder, however, it really depends on, I think, a number of factors, are the type of trigger words that we use. Is that right?
Yeah, it can be, mate, yeah.
Now, I know that there are certain reasons why they would allow certain words, and then the same word would not be allowed in another context. Could you maybe break down some of those that are relevant to our business in the Make Money Online BizOps space?
I didn't quite understand what you said then, but if we think everything online is down to angles, okay? Everything you do online is down to angles and how you connect with the audience. So a lot of the time people are using very make money online type subject lines and content. You can actually say the exact same thing without causing spam trigger words. So like make money is a big spam trigger word, and there's tons of them. I'll probably get my friend to create a list of them, because I mean Viagra, that kind of space is one as well, but you can still get the same message across. The same with your emails, Rob. Your emails come across. Yours are kind of infotainment almost. You're still selling, but you're doing it on the back of a Star Wars theme or comedy. Do you know what I mean? So you're saying exactly the same thing, just a completely different spin. And without talking about making tons of money, instead of money, you say Mooney sometimes.
Yeah, or moolah.
Moolah. Yeah.
MOOHLAH. You know, one of the things that I like to employ is talking like you talk to a buddy. And that includes the slang that I use, that includes the language that I employ in an in-person relationship with somebody. I try to say to myself, okay, if John, my buddy from church or something, right? If John is sitting right next to me and we're having a beer, right? And yes, we do drink beer if we go to church. Calm down, you crazy. We're having a beer, or we're having a whiskey and a cigar, and we're chatting, and I'm going to use terms that I regularly use on a normal basis. Like, I don't say money all the time. I go, dude, that made me a lot of moolah. You know what I'm saying? Or I'll even say things with weird inflections, like, man, I made a lot of money, you know, like stuff like that. And I'm trying to have fun with my friends when I'm talking to them. I'm not trying to be some just boring, static kind of person in real life. So why not translate that into email. And what I've found, like you've said, you get my emails, right?
Yeah.
I talk the way I talk in person in my emails, and I try to use slang as much as possible. If you have a saying, one of my favorite types of slangs are slangs from Australia. First and foremost, I never understand what in the world they mean, but I can understand based on the context that they're used, and they're silly words, they're funny words. So if you have words in your country that are only like, a UKer would understand, right? Use that term, especially because people love to know who you are and what your personality is like. And if you're talking to them like a person, guess what? You're boosting that not only engagement level where listen, I get so many replies to emails that I don't ask a reply for, simply because I talk to them like I would talk to a buddy. And they're like, man, that was hilarious. That was funny. That was great. And that's a great way in order to stay out of the spam folder. I've gotten as high as 30% in my open rates simply because I employ this model.
That's a big thing. I just want to say for the newer people, it's all relevant to the type of list you're building. Okay, it's really relevant. A relationship list, and just to touch on what you said, when I write the email or when I write the post, it gets fantastic traction. Do you know what I mean? Like we've got one in the group at the minute. I was heading towards 400 comments, which is insane. When someone else does them, it doesn't get the same traction. So it's not me speaking. So it's really important that it comes. Like that's one thing you learn as you try and outsource. It's hard to outsource emails, even Facebook and everything like that, because people buy into the person, and that's where relationship marketing come from. When you've got a CPA list, you're not going to get 30% opens. It's just not going to happen. You might the odd time, and in follow-ups you should, but as these people stay on your list, your aim is very different from a relationship list. It's very different goal to the relationship list. And people on your list, you should have actually spoken to them. You know what I mean? You should have a relationship with them. So it's a very different way of marketing. So the opens and CTRs are going to reflect that.
So we're talking about spam today. If you're just jumping on, this is an important thing to talk about because a lot of people are seeing decreases in their open rates. They're seeing all these numbers get lowered, and it's because they're getting into the spam folder or other folders that people aren't checking. And we're talking about how you can practically get out of that spam folder. Now, you mentioned whitelisting on the first email. You mentioned getting people to reply to your emails. We are talking about talking to them like an actual person instead of just a basic promo email. Now, Wayne, trigger words are a big thing. Now, what about some other potential things people need to be looking out for? Because I know that there are a number of things that we can talk about endlessly.
It's pretty
But what is something also another practical thing that these people can do in order to stay out of that dreaded spam folder?
Another big, there's tons and tons. We're probably going to have to turn this into some kind of course and pull in people like Kevin to give us some real, because he's fantastic. He knows all the figures to do with spam. It's insane. The biggest one that has an impact for me is actually paying attention to what's happened with my own averages, like I talked earlier. So a good way of doing it is 30 days. If someone doesn't open for 30 days, get rid of them. If that doesn't improve your deliverability, it should do straight away, and be a bit more aggressive and go to 14 days. A lot of people get really upset with this, but your deliverability is probably one of the most important things you got. There's tons of basic stuff you should be doing. You should have an unsubscribe link, or autoresponders put it in. You should have an address. This basic stuff. You shouldn't have 500 links. All the text shouldn't be a big link. All that kind of stuff, which is pretty basic, but we'll try and cover that in something we do. But yeah, if you can improve your deliverability, a well-written email improves deliverability. Subject lines improve deliverability, and you'll find over time you'll hit spam less and less. So the biggest bit of advice I can give is try and improve your deliverability yourself all the time, because obviously that is what will pull you out of the spam box.
So you're saying 30 days should be an initial goal for somebody to keep an eye on how often somebody opens their email. Now, I've seen some of the biggest email marketers because I'm still on a list for a year, and they have not got rid of me, and I've maybe opened one or two in the year. So what are these big marketers doing? Why are they employing the keep all method versus the 30-day method?
That's a really good question. So the 30 days works especially well with CPA, where there's a bigger churn. Okay, so there's a bigger churn. With relationship, it can be different. I don't always get rid of people that fast. Depends what list, because I actually have about 30 different lists that we segment into groups, and we speak to them all in different ways. So depending on what list they're on, we don't rid them. If they're an affiliate, we've got about 2,000 affiliates on an email list. We keep all those because they're still active in the space.
Sure.
If it's about people buying stuff, we tend not to keep them on if they're not. 30 days is more than enough. People get worried about removing them, but you just can't be worried about removing them. If a relationship, you could leave longer, so 3 months. And if you buy churn and burn solo ads, the really rubbish ones, for example, you want to take it down to about 2 weeks to keep your deliverability high. To give you an idea, a lot of I know a real SMTP expert that we can get on probably next week, and a lot of the guys watching will know him. He what he does to start spam is he treats it as like a living, breathing beast almost. So as the opens goes up, he knows how many more people you can add to your list and send to them as well. And if your deliverability takes a slight nosedive, he can then adjust the figures around what's happening, and that's how you keep good deliverability. So it's quite a science behind it, and it's a lot to get into. But
so it sounds like when you see percentages open rate go up, that's the time to add more people to your list and build that list. And then the moment you start to see a drop off is when you clean your list, engage them more. When you see that open rate increase, you go ahead and add some more. That sounds like a really interesting secret there, guys, because it makes sense when the seeing these numbers, when you see the dip happen, and then all of a sudden you get rid of those dead emails that are just causing you heartache and pain and money and suffering. Yeah. I sound like an ambulance chaser lawyer right now.
We don't have them in the UK.
Do you have pain, aches, and suffering? Call JJ and Reese. No, okay. Now, that sounds like a really good plan, guys, that you can go ahead and build the list when those open rates are starting to creep up, right? Because that is telling the email service provider something really good is happening. Your reputation score sounds like it's going to go up even more. And then, of course, when you're adding more people to that list, it's just going to help benefit you in the long run. And then, of course, when the opposite is happening, you can go ahead and take a number of those people off your list. And then, of course, wait for those numbers to jump up again and then add more people to your list. It sounds like a very great way to follow a list building kind of a schedule, if you will. And then you can track it. You can track your profits and everything in some type of spreadsheet, track your opens and track, the positive and negative effects in some type of spreadsheet so that you can see and break down for yourself what's actually working. That sounds brilliant, Wayne. That sounds brilliant. Now, I don't know how much time we got left, Wayne, but you mentioned that we can potentially get somebody who's an expert on the show.
We've got Kevin, or we've actually got a listener, Wah, who's good with servers as well. But we'll get someone on next week. We'll pull up an entire list of best practices, because what I said about the cleaning of the list is exactly what we do. One of our SMTPs, that's exactly what we do. Our SMTP cost, to give you an idea, one of our biggest was $5,000 in a month. We aggressively cleaned it to improve deliverability. Our profits probably quadrupled, and our SMTP cost halved. So it gives you an idea of why it's good. You've got to be in this pattern of keep getting traffic. You've got to be in the pattern of getting traffic. You can't just remove people, because deliverability will go up, but only short term. Deliverability takes a spike when you add new people, because obviously they're fresh to the list. They might open at 40%. That increases your average open rate. If that makes sense.
That's incredible. Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. And that's incredible value, guys. Again, being in the spam folder is no joke, especially if email marketing is your primary mechanism to reaching your clientele, your customer base, because this is how all internet businesses survive, is by email. And if you're not paying attention to that, you're getting dropped rates, you're getting less and less clicks, you're getting less and less commissions. So you guys need to be paying attention to these. I know Wayne said that he wanted to stick a knife in his eyeball instead of talking about the subject. But I care about the fans, Wayne. I care about the fans, okay? Guys, let us know also, Traffic Domination exists as a podcast for you. We don't want to just talk about what we want to talk about. We want to talk about what you care about. Let us know in the comment section of the Facebook group to make sure that we're talking about subjects that you want to hear about. We want this to be something that you want to listen to every single week. Okay, guys? Also, we're going to come up with some type of checklist or some best practices for spam protection, right? Keeping you safe from that spam virus. And we're going to get that done. Now, if you're a brand new listener, make sure you join us in the Traffic Domination group. Wayne, what is the name of the group again? Traffic Dominators?
It is now, mate. We changed it about 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that.
Excellent. Traffic Dominators. This is made for entrepreneurs who focus on email marketing and want more and more traffic to their business, which means more and more money for you guys. Well, guys, this is Rob Reese saying sayonara. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, on iTunes, on Stitcher, all of those podcast catchers. Make sure you join our group, Traffic Dominators, on Facebook. Just type that in the search bar for the results. And of course, get all sorts of incredible training, meet all sorts of incredible entrepreneurs that you can network and connect with and get help to grow your business. I am Rob Reese saying, see you later, along with Wayne, the Man Crow.
I like the Man Crow, not the Crow Man or Wolverine.
But until next week, guys, we will see you later.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.